Well, hello, sports fans. How you doing? Well, let's get right into it. We have a rematch of 4 years ago. It's Super Bowl 54. San Francisco and Kansas City will be playing again for the second time in 4 or 5 years. And let's get into it. First game, Chiefs, Ravens. And I'm mad at myself like I was 2 weeks ago when I picked the Cowboys over the Packers. I should have known. I should have known than to bet the Cowboys and Dak Prescott in the big game. Well, I did it again. I should have known that despite the fact I still think Baltimore is the best team and was the most complete team all year, that a game with them with Lamar Jackson would win a big game over the probably easily one of the best quarterbacks ever to live in Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson is now 2-4 in the playoffs. He has lost 4 of the 5 games on his own home turf. Lamar, you getting paid $285 million. It's $252 million. $185 of that is guaranteed, and you got paid $52 million this year. And you got paid that money because you were supposed to win this game, the first ever AFC Championship in Baltimore since 1971. And you guys blew that game. Now, if you look at his stats, you would say his stats weren't that bad, and they were. But the difference between his stats and Mahomes' stats is that when Mahomes needed a big play, he did it. When Lamar Jackson needed one, he didn't get it. He couldn't do it. And when he did, his receiver gets a 15-yard 20 penalty, puts him back 15 yards. But despite that, got down to the half-yard line, he fumbles it, Chiefs ball. And towards the end of the game, that ill-advised pass by Jackson was first down. No need to throw a bad pass like that. You have 4 other downs. And you needed 2 scores, so not only did you stop yourself from a touchdown, you stopped yourself from a field goal as well. Terrible job on Lamar Jackson. He's going to go in his off-season probably slamming that helmet down every day until training camp starts. And I can't blame him. He let one get away. The Ravens let one get away big time. Well, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that let one get away because the Chiefs' defense did play great. And Spagnuolo, who's the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs, does great in these playoff games. As a Giant fan, we know. Go see 2007 when he was our coordinator. That Chiefs defense, in fact, this Kansas City team was more physical than the Ravens. And this is the same Ravens team that pushed around the 49ers at Christmas Day. Another physical team. But I can also say that Kansas City was the better team from kickoff to finish. They were. They controlled this game. And this is not the same Kansas City team we saw last year and previous years. This is more a defensive team. They have to control the clock more because they don't have that explosive offense. But when you have the best quarterback in the game, and that was the one advantage I figured the Chiefs had yesterday was at quarterback. I guess that makes all the difference in the world. So Kansas City advances 17-10. It's going to be a long offseason for the Ravens because you paid Lamar Jackson all that money to win that game yesterday. I understand who you're playing. He has the same problem as Josh Allen does. You got to play against Mahomes in your conference. Before that was Tom Brady. So, yeah, listen, I get it. But you were the number 1 seed. You were hot. You were healthy. You had the week off. You beat a team at home last week. Let's move on, shall we? Now, the second game, Lions and 49ers. I said this is the game where their strengths and weaknesses almost match up the same. And this game showed us. First half, the Lions could run the ball up and down at will, which means Jared Goff was able to do play-action fake, and they had the 49ers defense on the heels. Second half, exact opposite. Lions couldn't run the ball, now the 49ers can. Brock Purdy, because he was able to run the ball, looked awesome. He was doing things with his arm, doing things with his legs, and looked very poised. And the Niners win that game. That was 34-31. But the key to this game, and everyone's been screaming about it. Listen, I was rooting for the Lions. The whole country, except for the Bay Area, was rooting for the Lions. 4th and 2. You're on a Niners 28-yard line. Granted, it is a 45-yard field goal. You're still up by 14 points. I know you like to live and die by the sword. That crap may work in the regular season, but a team like the 49ers on the road, no, you take the points. And Vince Lombardi and any good coach would told you, take the points. Forget all this analytics crap, because analytics yesterday, Dan Campbell, kept you from going to the Super Bowl for the first time in 64 years. And I know the city of Detroit is upbeat about next year, but you said all year, I want to do something amazing this year. Well, yesterday was a chance to do something real amazing. And on 4th and 2, and granted, Josh Reynolds dropped the pass he should have caught. Not just that one, but another one later on, which really screwed you guys pretty good. But common sense says if you kick the field goal there, then you erase the field goal the 49ers started the second half with, and now you're back up by 17 points, and there's about 6 minutes and 4 seconds left in the third quarter. Do the math. It would be very, very hard for them to come back. Instead, you don't go for it. You go for it. You don't get it. And on a freakish play, a 50-yard bomb from Purdy to Brandon Ayuk off the face mask of a Lion player, now all of a sudden, you're down to a 7-point lead now. Kickoff. And here comes 2 plays later. Lions fumble. Now we have a tie game. Within 8 minutes, because of your stupid decision to go for a 4th and 2, you lost your lead. And after the game, that press conference, you talk about getting your heart ripped out. Well, that's on you, coach. You let your team down. And someone on that sideline should smack you in the head, coach, get the points. Get the points. And you need to do that not just once, but twice when you had a chance to get a field goal and you pass and you got 0. And now you're sitting home, going to have a long off season. Probably even longer than Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And then to make the call on second to go and run the ball when you're under 2 minutes and you need all 3 of your timeouts, now you're forced to take a timeout. Who on earth are making these decisions? Dan Campbell, is that your call? Was that your call too? Because you may be a master motivator, you may be a great leader of men, but when it comes to managing the game and common sense, you really suck. And I'm a big fan of yours. Now, you got away with that stupid mistake 4 weeks earlier against the Cowboys when you went for it 2-3 times. You got away with it because the Packers won. They beat the Cowboys. You didn't get the extra home game anyway. But now you're on the road playing the 49ers, a team that was by far the most dominant team in the conference, and you're making these stupid calls. And let's face it, your pass defense, you have to work on that this offseason. And I think you need to get Aiden Hutchinson, another pass rusher, to help him rush the passer. Your front seven is pretty solid. You got a pretty good front seven. Your secondary is pretty weak, and your open field tackling is awful. And you should have known that when you made that ridiculous 4th and 2 call. The whole country wanted the Lions to go to the Super Bowl. And thanks to you, Dan, we're stuck with SF and KC. I think the country pretty much wanted to see Baltimore and Detroit yesterday, and I picked Baltimore and San Francisco to win. And the reason why I picked San Francisco to win was, well, Dan Campbell. But even I thought he would be smart enough not to be this ridiculous in an NFC Championship game. But he was. Not once, not twice, and 3 times. You went from 24-7 to being on your heels and behind. You had a chance to do something amazing for the first time in 64 years, and you talked about doing something amazing, and you impeded your own team, and you're a hypocrite on what you wanted. Now, the worst part about it is you tell me you don't regret your decision. How can you sit there and say that? Is that pride? Is that emotion? I hope in a few months later, when your head clears, you could say, yeah, I probably should have kicked the field goal. I can respect you. But if you go into next season doing the same crap, then shame on you. Because for all your talk of doing something amazing, if you're going to keep calling plays like that, when you had that team on their heels, they were on the ropes, and you let them off the hook. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Yeah, you can blame Josh Reynolds for dropping 2 easy ones. Yeah, if you're a pro receiver, you got to make those catches. Shame on you, Josh Reynolds. But, coach, you know your pass defense isn't that good, and you know they have to throw the ball. And when you know they have to throw the ball, even your secondary, you don't have to worry about the run. And you took that away from your defense. So you screwed your offense, you screwed your defense, and you have a good field goal kicker on top of that. He's a pretty damn good kicker, and you give away 6 points. But hey, credit the Niners, they made the plays. Brock Purdy, cool as a cucumber in the second half, man. He uses lays. He made some crazy throws, some real tight throws. I tip my hat to him. Mr. Irrelevant? I don't think anymore. Even though the Lions' pass defense was 23rd in the league. But as a Lion fan, you're in Michigan right now, and the Lions are my second favorite team. There's no way that this could feel good this morning. I know you had a good year and you've been hungry, but even Dan Campbell said, yeah, there's no guarantee I'll be here next year. In fact, he says, you even said it yourself. It's going to be twice as hard to get here next year, and you're right. Which is why your play calling is that much worse. Go back and play your press conference, and next year when you decide to make a decision that's stupid in the playoffs, remember what you said about getting back here next year is going to be twice as hard. Shame on you. Regardless, we got Kansas City and San Francisco in the Super Bowl. Should be a pretty good game. But yesterday, I mean, that third quarter for the Lions, it has to go down as one of the worst ever. In fact, I think the Lions became the first team to blow a 17-point lead in an NFC championship game or any championship game. That's going to be tough to swallow. And this is where the same old Lions thing comes in. Dan, you better get back there next year because you owe this team. And you better make better calls in the playoff game. I don't care what analytics says because common football knowledge from all the great coaches would have smacked you in the back of your head, and they should have. Anyway, let me know what you think. Questions, comments, down below. Like, subscribe. We'll talk to you later.